Hello everyone. When you think of the medical device manufacturing industry, the choice for the ERP system is going to be very difficult. The reason for that is because of the process complexity that medical device manufacturing has because of the FDA and regulatory compliance issues. So today we are going to be discussing the ERP system for medical device manufacturing. Everyone, my name is Sam Gupta and I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. Elevate IQ helps companies with the ERP selection, contract negotiation, ERP implementation, any sort of ERP project recovery. So now let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be the top systems for medical device manufacturing. So first we are going to be looking at the criteria that we typically use to compile these lists. We look at several different factors in assessing the ERP system that are going to be right fit for the medical device manufacturers. In terms of the criteria, we look at the market share, we look at user reviews, we look at community, the ecosystem, we look at the acquisition strategy of which are the companies that these publishers are trying to acquire. If they are trying to acquire the companies that are going to have capabilities related to medical device manufacturing, they typically rank higher on our list. So considering all of that, we have compiled the list. SYSPRO is targeted at smaller food and beverage manufacturers and distributors. The product has really deep distribution functionality for the most part. It also has very strong manufacturing functionality, but it's a single entity product targeted for companies that are going to have the single legal entity. Now let's look at the strengths of SYSPRO for medical device manufacturers. So number one strength obviously is going to be the core ERP functionality, and that is going to be the inventory and supply chain capabilities. Now, if you compare this with some of the other products in this segment that SYSPRO is typically compared with, for example, let's say if you compare this with Macola or SAP Business One, SYSPRO is going to have far deeper inventory and supply chain capabilities. The other strength SYSPRO is going to have is going to be the medical device quality requirement and native support for process manufacturing capabilities. Now, this is going to be beneficial for companies that are going to be doing, let's say, the medical device development that might be hardware centric, but they might have one of the component that might be either gel or some sort of drug that may go along with the medical device. This is also applicable for some of the laboratory companies where they are going to have they are going to be using combination of the discrete and process manufacturing. So SYSPRO is going to be a great fit. What are the weaknesses for SYSPRO for medical device manufacturing? So number one, obviously, it is a very small solution. It's not designed for larger companies. The other drawback that SYSPRO is going to have is its limited manufacturing capabilities. For the most part, it is really designed for not very complex products. So for example, let's say if the medical device company is going to be developing very complex machinery for radiology or cancer conditions, then those machines are going to have very large number of components that are going to go in the machines, and typically they have multiple layers of sub-assemblies. So for that, SYSPRO might not be the best fit, but overall SYSPRO offers great value for smaller medical device manufacturers, and for these reasons it ranks at number 10 on our list. Now, number 9 on our list is the product called Deacom. Deacom is targeted at the smaller food and beverage and pharma-centric verticals because it has very strong process manufacturing and food and beverage distribution and manufacturing functionality that is typically not available in the similar products in its category. Most of the products try to target either the discrete verticals or the distribution centric verticals, but Deacom has very unique position in the market. It has very strong process manufacturing, root accounting capabilities. So some of these strengths: number one, technology. It is born in the cloud, so you are going to have similar feel as some of the other products such as Acumatica. The other strength obviously is going to be its process manufacturing capability. Then some of the other strengths that it is going to have is going to be root accounting. So for example, let's say if the medical device manufacturer is distributing to many different hospitals and they are maintaining their own fleets, then the root accounting is going to be really beneficial. Typically, that functionality resides inside POS. Some of the weaknesses for Deacom: number one, it's not a discrete manufacturing product. So if your product is primarily focuses on the discrete manufacturing, you don't have some sort of drug or gel that you are trying to develop, then probably Deacom is not going to be a good fit. It is really fit for the fast moving consumable products. For example, let's say if you are producing surgical gowns or masks that go inside the hospitals or gloves, for those products, it could be a great fit. Deacom is also going to have very limited finance and supply chain management capabilities because the product is very small in size. It's not designed for companies that are going to be over $10 million in revenue. It's really that QuickBooks segment that Deacom really targets. Now, number 8 on our list is going to be Oracle ERP Cloud. Oracle ERP Cloud is targeted for very large companies and that are going to have, let's say, 10 to 30 legal entities, and then it's going to be over $1 billion in revenue. That's where Oracle ERP Cloud is really targeted. It is not a great fit for smaller companies because the amount of work that is going to be required in disabling the features that might be relevant for you is going to increase the cost, it's going to increase the effort, it's going to feel very overwhelming. So some of these strengths for Oracle ERP Cloud: best of breed capabilities. So let's say if you are trying to integrate with some of the other products in the Oracle portfolio, for example, HCM product or the marketing automation product in Oracle's portfolio, or if you are trying to do integrate with the Oracle e-commerce product, which is positioned for more of the B2B e-commerce. If you are doing all of that, then Oracle ERP Cloud could be a great product. Some of the weaknesses for Oracle ERP Cloud is going to be the last mile functionality for medical device manufacturing. It's a vanilla product. Yes, you can configure. Yes, you can probably customize the product to get the device history, to get the FDA compliance requirements and the reporting that you need to get from the product. But that is going to increase the time for testing. That is going to increase the time for development. So that's going to be a minus for Oracle ERP Cloud. Overall, it's going to require the longer configuration and customization time, and then it might not be as relatable for the plant level users if they are trying to use the product. Oracle ERP Cloud is still a very strong product for larger companies that prefer the financial functionality over operational capabilities, and that's why Oracle ERP Cloud is at number 8 on our list. Now, number 7 on our list is a similar product as Oracle ERP Cloud, which is going to be Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. The difference between Oracle ERP Cloud and Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations for medical device manufacturers could be Microsoft, if you look at the product, it also contains a very strong CRM, also has very tight data integrity, which is typically needed for medical device manufacturers when you have to make sure that the product, let's say if it is approved in certain geography or for certain conditions, you want to make sure that you are not selling in the geographies or for the conditions for which the device may not be approved for. The technical architecture is very strong as well, because you have several different tools in Microsoft portfolio. For example, the Azure Logic Apps or Data Factory, those are available for developers. Now, some of the weaknesses for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, which are similar, just like Oracle, which is going to be your last mile functionality. You are going to be requiring a lot of development that you need to do on top of your Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O for medical device manufacturers to be able to use that. Then the second weakness is going to be customizability. And the reason why customizability is a negative for Microsoft Dynamics 365 is because when, if you are going to customize it too much, sometimes the financial executives or the executives are going to lose the transparency. The implementation control in the Microsoft ecosystem, it's negligible. And the reason for that is because anybody and everybody can sell Microsoft licenses. So sometimes you don't know who you are buying from. And that could, and if they are treating this as more of the technical implementation, that could fire back significantly. And considering all these pros and cons, Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O lands at number 7 on our list. Now, number 6 on our list is going to be the product called Epicor Kinetic. Epicor Kinetic is targeted for small to medium size discrete medical device manufacturers. The strengths for Epicor Kinetic is obviously going to be mixed mode manufacturing capabilities. It is one of the strongest product for the discrete manufacturer. So if you are a hardware centric medical device manufacturer, Epicor Kinetic could be a great choice. The other plus for Epicor Kinetic is going to be the overall UX experience, especially with the new Kinetic experience. They have done a wonderful job in enabling that experience. So some of the features that you are going to find only in the cloud native experience, for example, advanced search, that exists in Epicor Kinetic. That does not exist in some of the other legacy products. For example, if you compare this with Infor CloudSuite Industrial. The other plus for Epicor is going to be, it is going to have far deeper last mile functionality for medical device manufacturers, medical device capabilities. And that is going to be, let's say, if you have a need for the advanced e-signatures using your MES, then Epicor has all of those features. So Epicor is going to be slightly stronger overall in terms of the medical device specific capabilities. Some of the concerns for Epicor Kinetic is going to be overall the BOM data integrity. Traditionally, Epicor Kinetic was really designed for assembly-centric manufacturing and job shops, and their BOM and the item structure is not streamlined in preventing the data integrity that you probably need for medical device manufacturing. So while it could be great for assembly-centric products or the products that are going to be make to stock in nature, but if you are looking for complex manufacturing, Epicor Kinetic may not be the best fit. The third-party quality module. Now, Epicor Kinetic does not really own the quality. The quality is not going to be as embedded, as tightly integrated with the processes. So again, that's a red flag for the medical device manufacturers. Medical device manufacturers typically require far tighter quality control as part of each of the process steps. The other negative for Epicor Kinetic is going to be the weaker configurator. If you have a medical device that is very configurable in nature, the configurator is not going to be where you cannot see the changes on the product as you are applying those changes. Considering all of these pros and cons, Epicor Kinetic is still a very strong product for medical device manufacturers, and that's why it lands at number 6 on our list. Now, number 5 on our list is going to be the product called Rootstock. Rootstock is targeted for smaller medical device manufacturers. And some of the strengths for the Rootstock is going to be the native integration with some of the other Salesforce products. In this particular case, for the medical device manufacturers, the most relevant products are going to be number 1, your CRM and CPQ, and number 2 is going to be the field service capabilities that you are going to require. Now, Salesforce CRM is enterprise grade. So whatever features and functions you are going to require from the territory planning perspective, from the customer experience perspective, in terms of, let's say, if you need to block the device in certain geography or conditions, you can easily do that using Salesforce CRM. Other CRMs might be limiting for medical device manufacturers. The same goes for field service. When you look at the field service functionality, it gets really nuanced, and the native integration of Rootstock is going to be super beneficial for medical device manufacturer. Now, some of the other pluses for Rootstock is going to be its cloud native mobile functionality, especially for warehouse management. And some of the features that Rootstock can provide out of the box, I have personally not seen anywhere with any other systems. For example, they can do things like license plate number, QR code, cross-talking right out of the box, integrated as part of your ERP, for which you probably would require a specialized WMS component. And if you are distribution-centric medical device manufacturer or a distributor, again, Rootstock could be a great choice. Rootstock has slightly more natural BOM, the way BOMs are supposed to appear for the manufacturing companies. The minuses for Rootstock is going to be the finance and accounting, which is really an afterthought. They don't really have very deep finance and accounting capabilities. So if you're a very large company, Rootstock may not be the best fit. Their sweet spot is probably going to be somewhere from $10 million to $200 million. Anything over that could probably be a stretch for them as of today. The other thing is they also rely on third-party module, even though the third-party module is part of the Salesforce ecosystem, which is called Compliance Quest. But when you are going to be using a product of somebody else, then that introduces a lot of vendor risk, the contract risk, the implementation risk. So this is going to be similar to Epicor Kinetic. The other negative we have for Rootstock is going to be the smaller ecosystem. It's not as well adopted as some of the other products that we have on our list. And considering all of these pros and cons, Rootstock lands at number 5 on our list. Now, number 4 on our list is the product called SAP S/4HANA. It's typically targeted for very large companies that are going to have more than 10 entities, and they are probably going to have more than $1 billion in revenue. Some of the strengths of SAP S/4HANA is going to be superior financial control and the governance, and that is built as part of the product. The other strengths for SAP S/4HANA is going to be the product model. The overall product model is far more natural for the medical device manufacturers than some of the other products in the market. For example, NetSuite, Epicor Kinetic, their product model is not as natural for complex manufacturing. The other plus for SAP is going to be they have many different best of breed solutions, and you are not going to find these many solutions in any other portfolio. For example, for HCM, they have SuccessFactors, which is one of the strongest HCM product. SAP Hybris is one of the strongest commerce solution, especially in the enterprise space. SAP EWM is very complex warehouse management and the transportation management solution. Then we have ERP Cloud, which is for your estimation and CPQ. That's where ERP Cloud has very enterprise grade capabilities. The negatives for SAP S/4HANA is going to be these solutions are not going to be as pre-integrated, pre-baked as with some of the other solutions on this list, and that actually poses a lot of different integration challenges. You might have the implementation failure risk because of that, so that is something you need to keep in mind. The other challenges are going to be similar to Oracle ERP Cloud and Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O, which is going to be just over bloated functionality for SMBs. And even if you can disable all of these approval flows, the commitments that might not be as relevant for the SMBs, that increases your testing risk, that increases your implementation risk. So that is something you need to keep in mind, that SAP S/4HANA is not really designed for the smaller companies. And again, the last mile functionality is going to be a challenge with SAP S/4HANA. The core ERP functionality you are going to get, but if you need to customize, configure, or develop the last mile functionality that is going to be required by FDA, then that is going to increase your development time, the implementation time, the effort, the cost. So considering all of that, SAP S/4HANA is still a very strong solution, and that's the reason why it lands at number 4 on our list. Now, number 3 on our list is a product called Sage X3. And Sage X3 is targeted at the upper to large process manufacturing companies, and that includes your medical device manufacturing, especially if they are going to be slightly more process centric than discrete, then as Sage X3 is going to be a superior fit. Sage X3 in general have far deeper capabilities for the approval for the FDA, just because the product is targeted for the food and beverage and the pharma verticals. So they are far more aligned overall in terms of their capabilities for medical device manufacturing. For example, you are going to find far more resources, let's say if you need Sage X3 to be validated. So they are really aligned towards the medical device and the pharma verticals. The pluses for Sage X3 is going to be obviously the process manufacturing capabilities that are going to be one of the strongest. The finance and supply chain capabilities are really designed for the food-centric verticals, the process-centric verticals, the distribution-centric businesses. So if you are make-to-stock manufacturing, then Sage X3 could be a potential product, especially if you have very heavy component of process manufacturing as part of your business processes. The other pluses for Sage X3 is going to be its multi-entity functionality, which is very strong overall, and it could be a great replacement for other larger solutions. Let's say if you're not as large, but still you have the global operations and you're looking for a solution that can take you to, let's say, $1 billion, $1.5 billion, Sage X3 could be a potential options. Some of the minuses or the negatives for Sage X3 is going to be the discrete manufacturing capabilities. While it has discrete manufacturing capabilities, it's not really designed to be a discrete manufacturing product. So if you are a hardware-centric medical device manufacturer, then Sage X3 is probably not going to be a good fit for you. The third-party MES, so the MES component is not offered out of the box. It is probably going to be through a partner, and that typically increases the risk for the implementation if it is not going to be pre-integrated, if you are going to face any sort of integration challenges. The last mile medical device functionality, you are going to find far deeper compliance reporting from the food and beverage perspective, from the pharma perspective. But when you look at the deeper medical device manufacturing compliance and reporting functionality, that may require additional development configuration, and that will increase the cost of development as well as implementation. Considering the pros and cons of Sage X3, Sage X3 is still a very strong solution for medical device manufacturer, and that's the reason why it ranks at number 3 on our list. Now, number 2 on our list is going to be the product called QAD. It is targeted for larger automotive and make-to-stock centric discrete verticals, and the medical device is going to be one of the verticals that it likes to target because of the core alignment of the product with the vertical. Now, when we look at the pluses of QAD, it's going to be number 1, the product is really designed from supply chain perspective. So let's say if you are very heavy into electronics manufacturing as part of your medical device, then probably QAD could be a very good fit, because you are probably going to be dealing with the international supply chain, you are going to be dealing with trade compliance issues, and sometimes these feature sets are only found in very large solutions, or they are going to require a specialized TMS, WMS component. QAD has that out of the box. The other pluses for QAD is going to be the last mile medical device functionality. They have a lot of different features that are going to be required for medical device that you are going to get out of the box. The other advantage that we have with the mixed mode manufacturing capability, including the process manufacturing features. So from the capabilities perspective, it's going to appear very similar to Sage X3, but the QAD is going to be far deeper in the discrete manufacturing as opposed to process manufacturing, even though both of them can support the discrete as well as process manufacturing capabilities. The negatives for QAD is going to be its ecosystem and the adoption of the product. It's not as well adopted as some of the other products on this list. For example, if you compare this with SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, QAD is not going to have as large communities. Ecosystem, you might struggle in finding the talent to support the product. The other negatives that we have for QAD is going to be the technology and the underlying technical architecture. They still use very legacy programming language, even though the interface is very new and modern. But that programming language, we don't know how long that is going to be supported, what issues are going to be there because of that programming language and the technology architecture. They don't use one of the mainstream cloud providers to host their infrastructure, so that could be a negative for QAD. QAD is primarily, again, designed for more of the make-to-stock verticals, so it's not going to be as great fit for the complex manufacturing. Let's say if you are a very large equipment manufacturer and you are building all of those radiology machines or the cancer machinery, then QAD is probably not going to be a great product for you. Considering all of that, QAD is still a very strong product for medical device manufacturers, and that's why it ranks at number 2 on our list. Now, number 1 on our list is going to be Infor CloudSuite Industrial. And Infor CloudSuite Industrial is the SMB product from Infor that is targeted to SMB medical device manufacturers. Some of the pluses for Infor CloudSuite Industrial is going to be, it is one of the only products that is really designed from OEM perspective. So let's say if you have a medical device and then you have a lot of different channel partners that you are working with and you are installing these machines with your channel partners, and sometimes there could be overlap and the interactions when you are servicing these components, and that's where you need a system that is going to be designed from the OEM perspective. And the OEM perspective is also going to be relevant when you look at the way the products are going to be serialized. So in the case of Infor CloudSuite Industrial, it can combine serialized components, and that actually helps in tracking the device history for the medical device manufacturer when you are looking at very complex devices that are going to have many different subassemblies and many different components that actually go as part of your manufacturing. The other plus that we have for Infor CloudSuite Industrial is going to be the quality module, which is owned by Infor. It is fairly embedded as part of the product as opposed to relying on the third-party product. So the quality is going to be deep, and for medical device manufacturer, quality is always going to be the top priority. So again, if you are OEM, Infor CloudSuite Industrial could be a great product. The other plus that we have is the field service capabilities that we already discussed. So that's going to be a plus for Infor CloudSuite Industrial. Now, some of the negatives. It's a very hard to learn product. The way the product is designed, it is still carrying some of those legacy capabilities. The way we used to search in the desktop world, the experience is still very same with Infor products. It is also not going to have as deep last mile functionality that some of the medical device manufacturers are going to require. But then you have a very technical product and that exposes pretty much everything that you need to develop. But again, that you can do with a lot of different ERP products. So that's probably going to add some time in your development, testing, configuration in enabling the features that medical device manufacturers are going to require. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check our podcast, which is on WBS Rocks. Make sure you are going to subscribe it on Apple, Spotify, and Google. And make sure you hit the subscribe button on the YouTube as well. We publish these videos weekly. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.